Bookmarks. What did I do with that? Oh, I didn't bookmark it. There we go. No, I did. I just hit bookmark and then show up in my bookmarks. All right, here it is. Let me pull it up.
What you're seeing on your screen right now is Hedera on the...
Oh, I hate when I pause it and it plays anyway. That's so annoying. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I wanted to react to this video. What I like to do for some of these is I like to look at what is the top video right now. And what I do is I pull up an incognito window so it doesn't have any of my metadata. And I just pull up what's the top video for Algorand? What's the top video for XRP? Today, it's going to be the top video for Hedera. So we're going to react to this. It's a price prediction video called Hedera HBAR price prediction. I like to see what people say on these things. I'm always very skeptical of price predictions. Unless you can show me really good correlation data that's really worked well in the past, I don't know. I'm very skeptical of the technical analysis. Oh, we got the green triangle over here. I just don't buy it. But I do like to see what people say and what they're thinking. I did one that was like 4 years old on XRP that said XRP was going to 10,000. And the reasoning was like insane. I couldn't believe. I mean, first off, obviously it was wrong. XRP never came to 10,000. But they were saying like, oh, this could be used for cross-border payments. Yeah, so can a lot of other coins. Like you didn't present a vision for why this coin would be used over all the other ones. The fact is it's probably going to be a mix. It was the same for like a lot of use cases. They acted like it was the only one. Crazy. Yeah, anyway, so let's react to this video because I think this is pretty interesting. And it's a pretty short one. I like to make them a little fast so they don't, because I get bored watching them on regular speed. Okay, here's the video. Oops, I got to make an adjustment here. I should definitely set up extra scenes. Okay, yeah, let's watch, let's see what he has to say. I'm going to put my headphones on. Okay, here we go.
What you're seeing on your screen right now is Hedera on the daily chart. And the last time prices were this low, we had a rally of 33%, followed by another rally of 17%. Will Hedera do the same now, as it is currently teetering on 14.3 cents? Today's video, we're going to focus solely on price action, throw a little bit of price prediction in there. And what do we think Hedera is going to do? The altcoin market, the season has been a little weird this time, very segregated in what moves and what doesn't move.
Yeah, he's not wrong. It's been a crazy alt season. Like, you know, in fact, I think that's why so many people are disappointed, is because it's been such a crazy alt season that has not done what they have in the past. And you've had individual coins kind of popping off at different times, but you haven't had just like for people who haven't been, if this is your first cycle, you can't appreciate how it was for these other ones. Snail says, thanks for everything. Appreciate that. You can't understand what it was like back then because it would just, I mean, the coins would just pop off. It was like every day, it's like, whoa, now it's worth this much. Whoa, now it's worth this much. I mean, that's the feeling that we had in previous bull runs. So if you want to know why like a lot of crypto OGs are like, what the heck? This is not how this works. That's why. So no, he's totally right.
Hedera going to be one of the lucky few that's going to see a huge altcoin season, while a majority of other alts are going to wither away into the abyss. We're going to talk about that in this video. Make sure to like the video and let's jump in. Sub to the channel too. We do a lot of Hedera content on this channel. Take a look here. I wanted to show, you know, there's one thing with hype. There's another thing with utility. With Hedera, utility should be their middle name. Hedera utility hashgraph. As per token terminal, by the way, if anyone ever used that, I better get some credit. As per token terminal, Hedera has the third largest core developer pool in all of Web3.
Yeah, we actually covered this earlier in the week in our Hedera video, so you can go back and watch that. Pretty cool, although you look, it's definitely fluctuated. So You could see for a lot of that time, Internet Computer Protocol and Chainlink were actually a bit higher than Hedera throughout a lot of that. But this last, if you look at the very last clip, Hedera is like slightly higher, but still pretty good for, for Hedera. I mean, that's what you want to see. I don't know if I don't see Algorand on that chart. I'm not sure where it would actually be, but yeah, pretty interesting.
Tested only by Ethereum and MetaMask. Others in the group include Chainlink and Internet Computer, all solid projects. And so why do people continue to build on Hedera? Ask yourself that question and then try to forecast that out a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. If your time horizon is long enough, and Hedera should be one of the top projects in our space. So I mentioned the chart. Let's get back to it. This is Hedera on the daily. Now, we have been in this falling channel. We had this inverse head and shoulders here. We had that breakout, had a little bit of follow through, put in some higher highs. And then we broke that trend, and we've been in a solid downtrend. And in fact, I was looking at the 200-day moving average here on HBAR. We're pretty far away from our 200 MA on the daily time frame. From current price to lower band is 46%. Current price to upper band is around 59%. Now, what is the importance of a 200-day moving average? And maybe if you're new to technical analysis, this is, I don't want to say the one indicator, but a very important indicator that tells us, is the structure of the chart bullish or is the structure of the chart bearish? Is the trend bullish? Is the trend bearish? Now, you can look at micro, but on the macro, the daily 200 MA is extremely important to be trading above if you want to be considered in a bull trend or essentially really a bull market. So Hedera's got 46% to make up for before we break back into that 200-day MA. Just to show you the importance of the 200-day moving average, we zoom all the way back to June of 2024, where we broke below, and HBAR spent 160 days. So a little less than half a year, Hedera spent trading under its 200-day moving average.
By the way, I brought this up earlier. I mentioned that November-December pump, and that's exactly what he's pointing to. Prior to that, well below the 200 AMA. And then November-December, not only Hedera, but XRP and Algo also had big pumps. So we saw like a utility coin spike in that, which was pretty cool. That's where we saw it before. So it's probably likely. I think they tend to move together. I think we'll see, if we see a pump again, I think we'll see XRP and Hedera and Algorand probably move right around the same time in the same direction. I think that's probably a pretty safe bet.
And then look at what price action did. We had an initial bump, failed. We had a breakthrough, never got the retest, came all the way down to 8.4 cents from a breakout of around 7.2 cents. And then look at what Hedera's price did after it cleared its 200-day moving average. From the exact point of the breakout to the top of the wick, it rallied 442%. Now, we're in a similar situation. We had a breakdown. We've been trending sideways. Now, the one thing I do want to do that I haven't done yet is measure the length of time we've been under this 200-day moving average, and we're right at 90 days. So relative to the last time this happened, we're about halfway through what we saw last time. So does this mean we're going to see another 60 to 70 days of downward or chop price action? No. Now is different from when it was back in June of 2024. But nonetheless, once we reclaim the 200-day moving average, look for HBAR to see an absolutely massive rally. The bottom end, our lower band is 21.09 cents. Our upper band currently is 23 cents. Now, this is dynamic, so we'll change. Right now, it's shaped to the downside. It will eventually shape to the upside. Either way, we'll keep our eye on this. But with HBAR, what I mentioned, the last two times prices was here, a rally. Let's take a look here. And what I'm talking about is this level right here, which is around 13.29 cents. So we're not too far off. We're at 14.3 cents. The last time, the big time here, which we put in that head on the inverse head and shoulders, this is back on April 7th. Hedera rallied. I'm not even going to take the entire rally. Hedera rallied around 50% on its second leg up after it saw a minor retracement. If we take that second leg out, it still rallied 35%. And the second time was literally like Sunday, a few days ago, 5 days ago. What did Hedera do? It bottomed out at around that 13.6 cent level on a close, and then it eventually rallied 17% in a massive V-shaped recovery. Just to show you the importance of this level, look at this candle that encapsulated 1, 2, 3, 4, damn near 5 consecutive candles prior to this candle. You want to talk about a V-shaped recovery? That's what a V-shaped recovery is. And that is what we're looking at with HBAR's price action now. Now, if you're looking for a long or a short, I would wait, set an alert at 13.298 cents. Once we hit that number, in fact, if you're confident that nothing crazy is going to go on globally, which who knows, anything can happen, go ahead and set a limit order in at call it 13.3, because we always go a little bit above just in case we almost wick but don't quite get there. And this should be another big V-shaped recovery. Will it be 33%? Will it be 15%, 5%? I don't know. Either way, we expect a big bounce from Hedera at these key levels. Now, to answer my own question I posed in the very beginning of this video.
Well, hold on. What I want to talk about is when I just, you're down. If you think the bull run's going to happen again, if you think we've still got another bull run happening, then why wouldn't you just put it along? Why wait? Yeah, you can maybe make a few other cents, or you might miss it. And also, like, this is where technical analysis, like, where's he getting this line from? Just because it's the bottom here? Why couldn't I have drawn a bottom here or here earlier on and say, oh, well, wow, we hit this level, or why wouldn't it be here? I don't know. Some of these, I always find, this is my problem with technical analysis. I always find it so, like, just so, like, it always just seems very squishy to me. And what I see too is, like, they all tend to kind of pump and jump at the same time, with some exceptions. There's always a few that are kind of counter positioned. Like, Say is a good example. Unised Leo is a good one that tends to buck the market. It tends to go up when the market's going down and vice versa. So I guess I'm always a little skeptical of this. I like to just look at the macro trends. And when we look at the macro trend, if you believe that we're still going to have the second leg of an alt season, which we typically get in overall bull runs, then you should be set up for it. But I think the gains were made, when he was talking about that 400% pump, like I was telling you guys earlier, I'm up 4x on my HBAR. So if you look at the macro trend and you buy your alts when everybody is like, wow, crypto sucks. When you see sentiment at its lowest, that's usually a pretty good time to buy. And that's been a pretty good indicator for me. And it's simple. It doesn't, there's no fancy drawings on charts to do, but it's always worked for me. It's worked for me for 3 cycles now, not as well this cycle as it has in the past, but it's worked. And my portfolio is in the positive. It's not as in the positive as it was 6 months ago, but it's in the positive for sure.
What can we expect from Hedera? This altcoin season hasn't been like really any altcoin season we've seen. It feels like little spurts and sputters. It's like you turn the car on, it sounds great, it starts to go, and then everything stops. And then the next go around, maybe instead of 6 cylinders firing, only 5 cylinders fire. And so the idea here is not every altcoin is rallying. And you might be wondering, well, Hedera hasn't really moved a lot. It's been in a downtrend for a while. Is Hedera going to make it? I'm here to tell you unequivocally, absolutely, 100%, without a doubt, yes. Yes, you can look at a project like Hedera, the dApps that are building on it, the builders that are building on it, the governing council, the team, and everyone, and say, these guys are probably going to wither away and falter. Absolutely not. Hedera's got a lot going for it. People don't mention the stablecoin narrative, RWA narrative. We know institutions and DeFi is coming as well. So these are, I'm not saying DeFi is not here, but it's going to continue to grow on the institutional side. You got to ask yourself this question.
Okay, so I agree and disagree with him on this. And what do I mean? I agree that a lot of these strong fundamentals that especially like Hedera and Algorand have, where they're just being used by institutions, they have a ton of enterprise clients, and they're kind of doing the so-called right, quote unquote, right thing in crypto. I think that does speak to their long-term viability, and that they'll be around for a while because they're providing value to beyond just nice price pumps. But what we've seen is that hasn't necessarily translated to price action. And Algorand and Hedera have had some of the worst in the top 100. Hedera's done a little better than Algorand, but both of them, I tracked them. Every once in a while I track, performance over the last year, and it's not been great for Algorand. It's been better for Hedera, but honestly not that great compared to, say, Bitcoin. And you see projects that have like really terrible fundamentals like Solana, and they do really well. They do. Sui too. I've been really critical of Sui lately. Doesn't mean I'm going to sell it because I still think it's going to pump. Prices tend to be correlated with hype more than actual fundamental value. I hope there comes a time when that changes, but that's not the case right now. Maybe as more institutions start working their way into altcoins, we'll see more value put on coins that have like real institutional use, that have real enterprise clients, etc. But that hasn't really been the case right now. I do think he's right about longevity though, because if you have like real customers, that means you'll probably be around for a while. You know, it's kind of like GameStop. You know, GameStop didn't really have it was like failing as a company, but people were able to hype up its stock, you know, and the stock went through the roof. It didn't reflect the underlying value of the actual company. Now, in stocks, it tends to be a little more correlated with fundamental value, and those are kind of like outliers. But like that's how the crypto market works across the board. So I'm skeptical of this idea, but I do think it's I do think it's good that, let me say how I'm going to say this. I think he's right in terms of longevity, and that's pretty important. So, all right, let's watch the rest of this.
We talk about institutions are in front of this market cycle. Well, what blockchain outside of maybe Chainlink, because they work with Swift and DTCC and all the banks, what other blockchain or layer one or crypto project has as many ties and partnerships and relationships with institutions than HBAR? I dare you, let me know in the comments section. So with that being said, I don't think Hedera is going anywhere. If you're a bag holder of Hedera, you should feel very confident. Don't look at extremely short-term price positions. This should be going to $1 plus by the end of the year as alts continue to, or alts start to rally in their native pods. And Hedera will be in one of those pods. And in fact, could be in multiple pods. And so we expect a lot of big things from Hedera. We know you do too. Drop a like in the video and let us know, what are your price predictions for Hedera for the end of the year? I'm throwing $1 out there. It's a really, really nice round number. And I do honestly believe that HBAR could more than 5x from here. Excuse me, that would be a 6 to 7x from here and get to that dollar mark by the end of the year. Let us know in the comment section. Also, check out our live show Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till the next one. Peace.
Well, what do you think about that, guys? I think he calling $1. Wow. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. I just generally don't like to make price predictions like that. But I do think I think he's right. I think he's right when he thinks about long-term value, and I think he's right about his pods. Like I said, we saw the utility coin pod kind of pump not too long ago, where you had HBAR, XRP, and Algorand all kind of moving at the same time, and really having a nice little pump in late November, early December. That was really nice. So I agree with that. So if HBAR gets to $1, that should theoretically mean that Algorand will get even higher, because Algorand has tended to just be a little bit higher in price in general. Percentage-wise, it hasn't necessarily pumped more than HBAR, but remember there's 50 billion HBAR tokens and only 10 billion Algorand tokens. That's why Hedera is higher up in market cap, because there's just more tokens, and it's been pretty close. You know, as I'm recording this, Algorand's around 17 cents and HBAR is around 14 cents. So, you know, market cap is just math. It's just multiplication, by the way. I think people sometimes make too much of market cap. Snail with grocery says 5% on Monko alone during the stream. Having a strategy is key. Technical analysis should only help, not to be solely relied on. As long as it has a chart and action, someone could be successful. Just my 2 cents. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine for describing. I just don't know that it has the prediction power that people pretend it does. And I do think sometimes people make these like kind of just so arguments that like don't really mean much. You know, the one reliable indicator that I've seen work, if you're looking for like short-term pumps, are low RSI, like below 30 especially, and then when the chart is at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. But that's not really that surprising, because it just means like, well, a lot of these like trading bots, in fact, I'm going to be testing one out soon. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. A lot of these trading bots, you know, they just buy on dips basically. Snail says can't stop, won't stop, GameStop. That was a fun phenomenon. That's where stocks started behaving like meme coins, and a whole lot of institutions got weeded out there. So anyway, this is Sin City Crypto. I'm going to give it a like here, and I always put the link in the chat. So here's the link to the video. It's going to come through the restream thing. Yeah, give it a like, give it some love, give it a watch. I think it's all cool.